Hi, well in this film I'm going to be making some mystery bracelets and also some key fobs. And there's a bit of background to all of this because I do a little bit of work now and again in my local community, and this one it's actually for the National Trust, and they look after all our old buildings and heritage in the UK. And near me there's one called Knole House. There's a lovely old calendar house and they open it up for Children's Day, so children are invited along, try some different activities. So what's better than leather work? I thought, well, they can make some little mystery bracelets. I like the one I'm wearing here, and also I've picked up quite a lot of leather sort of offcuts from the Braids company that I'm going to turn into key fobs. So here goes. Well, I'm just colouring the veg tan leather at the moment with a little bit of dye. Let's see what that does. Oh, that's quite a nice bit of contrast. So there we are, that's now just roughly coated with colour. That's really all I'm trying to do there, is get some colour on it all. So with the wristbands, I'm going to make key fobs, because you can actually make two key fobs out of this, and I'll show you what I mean. One, it's simple, isn't it? Two, take the end off, about there, with a nice curve, whoops. And then I just need to punch a couple of holes in this one. Like that. Bend it over. I've got some key rings here. Got lots of key rings, but basically put your key ring on, put a rivet through, you've got a key fob. I'm going to chaz up a few of these key fobs as well with a bit of colour. There's some green ones. I'll do the same for some red. So I'm applying this dye with wool daubers. These are the sorts of things they use to put the glue around windscreens on cars. They're very effective for applying dye. You can buy them in bulk. Certain auction sites have them. Well, I'm now just cutting out the strips for the mystery bracelets. So they don't need to be very wide actually, sort of 3/8 of an inch is fine. So you can get quite a few out of one piece of quite small leather. The next job now is to do cut lines down each one, so leave about 3/4 of an inch roughly there, and then each piece needs a couple of cut lines. So one could do this with a ruler, one can do it freehand, it doesn't really matter. I have a strip that's captive both ends but got the cut lines so it looks like that. It's definitely easier to cut these using a ruler and a knife, but anyway, I've had a fair few now, which is what I wanted, and they look quite pretty. I'll show you next how I actually weave these to make a little bracelet. Well, one of the first things to do is just to make a little arrow cut out there and a little end slot as well. That's what you want to be able to do when you have woven the bracelet, is be able to lock it to make it round. So that's the first thing. Now, the actual weaving, it's a bit of a knack. Once you try it a few times, it becomes a bit easier. But basically, put two braids one side, one the other, and twist tail through so you get a twist. Then start plaiting. So the outer one over the inner one, and then this outer one over there and back. That one over there. So you get a little twist like that. I'll run through that step again because once you've got the sort of basic start, it's a lot easier. So just to show you that once again, you got your 3 strands, separate off, 2 one side, 1 the other, bend the tail through that gap. That gives you a twist. So that's the first step. Step 2, if you like, is to do a simple 3-way plait. So think of it a bit like plaiting hair or something. So the outer one there over the inner one, just standard plaiting. Outer one over the inner one, and that outer one over the inner one once again. So you end up 2 strands one side, 1 strand the other side. Again, put your tail through the gap between the 2 strands and the 1 strand. Carry on. So outer one over the inner one, outer one over the inner one, outer one over the inner one, and again you got 2 strands one side, 1 the other. Put the tail through that gap. So we keep on. Outer strand over the inner, outer strand over the inner, outer strand over the inner. So again, got a gap, put the tail through the gap, and so on. So here we are. I'll try and keep my fingers a bit out of the way and you may be able to see it even better. So outer one over the inner, outer one over the inner, outer one over the inner. Again, you've got 2 strands one side, 1 the other. Put the tail through the gap and carry on. You carry on doing that and you'll come towards the end of the braid. So I'm beginning to run out of space, still a bit left, so just carry on. Outers over the inner. Oops. Once again I'm trying to do something with the camera slightly in the way, but not to worry. There we are. Right. Tuck it through. You do have to decide at what point you actually stop. See, actually that is not a bad point to stop. It's a bit loose there, but I think I'd probably struggle to get more done. So if you give it a bit of a pull, it sort of lines it up. But then it's worthwhile just loosening some of the ones you have made to even up the twists. And that way you'll fairly quickly get a better spacing on your mystery braid. So I'm just loosening these, trying to get it a bit more even. There we are, and just rub it through your fingers a few times and it sort of works its way along. And there you have your mystery braid. The keyring making is very straightforward, so all it is, I've got a little rivet, pop it through, put a keyring over and rivet it down. So there's a cap, and then I've got a rivet press that I will use just to secure that. These rivet presses are very useful, you can get quite a lot of power behind them. And there you are, just a simple keyring. So I will carry on doing those and they will be ready for the leather stamping that the children will be doing. Well, I've now got a fairly good selection of bracelets and keyrings ready for stamping. Just going to test out a couple of my stamps on the keyrings just to make sure all is well, but I've just basically cased the leather, so soaked it just with a bit of water, let it soak in a little bit, and once it goes a little bit drier, I know it's sunk down enough, and I'll give it a nice impression. It's just seeing what different weights of hit will get an acceptable result for a child. So I've just been mashing these hard and soft, and I think the answer is that children will certainly manage the smaller stamps quite happily. The larger ones will probably be a bit more of a challenge. We'll see.
Well, I've seen a lot of children today and it's gone well. Had children stamping out probably about 90 items in all, or making up bracelets, and I think they had a jolly good time. I hope you enjoyed watching the film, and thanks for watching.